Big rush? All right.
We're gonna get at least a couple more students coming back to March. And those are just the ones that got vaccinated.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Everything just kind of leveled off. You know, how water seeks its own level. Sink or swim, right? So that's good. I think, yeah, as long as we, realize everything that we do has some kind of purpose, or, not just martial purpose, but, that we need to move our bodies a certain way. The newer people are, starting to appreciate more of it, besides just learning form. Although belts do make a little difference. um, so what do you want to work on? What do you have? Any? We'll leave it to you, Irina. You're the newbie here. Let's. What do you think? Yeah. What do you have something specific that like in the classes you've been seeing all the different levels and what we work on. Is what's something that you've kind of just discovered that is important. I know it's a deep question. Oh, then otherwise, uh, okay, yeah, okay, that was wrong. No, no.
As soon as I fix my belt. Can't do this either. I'm all tied up here, and they got shorter and shorter. Okay.
Okay, do that again. So what he's saying? So what he's saying is this is cover hand. Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that we develop is what I call body intelligence, right? So what the body doesn't know, it doesn't know unless you kind of get it to happen. So when we're doing a lot of things, whether it's Tai Chi or Yerhimon or Honga, there's always an element of learning and discovery. So when we're doing, this is the most fundamental thing, right? So what is that? That's part of a hu. Okay. Now when we make a transition here or a transition here, we have a body form that is fluid, that really is modified based on what that position is. And that position becomes a position of structure. So we have to maintain structure and sustaining that position. So sustainability is something they talk a lot about, like fishing, you have to be sustainable, maintaining it, right? So our body needs sustainability too. When we hold the position, we have to sustain it for an instant because that's where we're going to go from. We have this, we have this, we have this, and we have this. So where's the movement going to go to make it compatible, and how does it work? So first it's the geometry, then it's the leg. So when we're like this, when the body turns, your limbs change. So it's like when you punch, when we pull back. So a basic punch would be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So there's nothing tied together. Completely separate and independent. If I go like this, 1, and I twist my shoulder like this, now I've tied my body together. When I'm like this, I tied my body together. You can see that there's something going on here because something went here. When I'm here, something happened because something else happened. That's called passive as a function of. So my hand is here, and I have it against his chest, and I go like that, it changed. But he could feel that there was a change in, direction and structure. It did that. So if I put that in part of movement, then now this and this became an action. that actually comes from the body being a little bit more intelligent than it was when you were learning this. So when we do this, the body is doing that because it had learned a transition. It's a give and a take, right? Give and take. So what is giving and taking? When you withdraw, you're taking or withdrawing, taking it in. When you extend, you're giving it back. So that's what a give and take is. So when we're here and I cover and I go like this, I'm giving, I'm taking, and then it comes together like that. So when you move, there's modification of your skeletal position, manipulation. If I'm here, my body changes like this. If I'm here, my body changes like this. These are interim transitional postures, like this, horse, drop to leaning. You have to, the interim position is the phase of your movement. And in a phase of movement, it has to be compatible with what you're trying to create as a motion. So vertical to horizontal are two positions, right? Vertical is elbow down, horizontal is flat. Two separate positions, just like a vertical leg on a square is like this, and the horizontal is like this, just two pieces. But it connects between the diagonal, right? Because between here and here, there's a diagonal. So what's the diagonal? It's a cross. What's the horizontal? A cover. What's the vertical elbow? Side deflection, right? So if his hand comes to me, I'm at a vertical. For me to get flat, I have to turn the oblique or the cross hand slant, right? So slant is 45 degrees, oblique. My body can be square, vertical, right? And slanted. So when I do this, there's something going on here, there's something going on here, right? So I go from here, vertical, to 45 to here. So this 45 and this 45 create this. But what creates that is this. So that's what I call manipulation of skeletal structure. So when the body knows this, you start to create a movement that's generated by your back, your spine. So your torso is this section, but it's segmented. Your body actually works in quadrants. You have a front, a back, and 4 sides. Each one of those are pieces. So if I go like this, and then like this, I have a configuration here that you don't see, but it's happening as a manipulation of the skeleton. So when I'm here, I have strength here, because when he lifts, there's strength there. But it's not strength there because I put my arm there. It's strength because I have a body form that created a strength. That becomes part of body intelligence. So when I go like this, and I go like this, and I want to turn, I just can't turn. It's flat. I have to turn by bringing it down. Now I'm a little bit slanted like this. But I can't do this. I have to do this. Now my force starts to go this way. Because my structural integrity became this. Here's your lower hoop. Here's your vertical. Here's your slant. Here's the cover. Here's the turn. So when we go like this, that's why the hand has to be like that. It doesn't just go like that for the sake it has to look like that, for the look. That's actually a position. That's your geometry of position, your lower hoop. Here's your transition. So the intent of the movement is constantly being adjusted and modified to create the strength of the position. Now when I'm like this and I go like this and then I turn like this, you will see this. Now the configuration comes like this. So what's this? It's this. right? But then when you're like this, it's this. When you're like this, it's this. So how do you discover that? It just isn't easy to discover unless your body builds what we call that body intelligence. Dongking is understanding strength. So strength as being intelligent is knowing that your different components of your skeleton has, structure, it has direction of movement and intent. And how you develop that has to do with all the stuff that you're doing as part of actions by controlling those joints. So the right and two left sides will have a relationship in the body, which is, I think, one of the most amazing things that you develop as a training. So what do you get out of that? Better circulation. That article you sent me about the wiring of the body, where the core has direct wiring to the adrenal medulla, and that's why it alleviates stress when your body is stressed, because it's not just the hierarchy in the brain, it's really something that's really wired to your body. Maybe because, when your body was more primitive, it resorted to those things, because when your body responded based on some leopard or tiger ready to attack you, your body would do something and the fight or flight engine would be kicking in at that point. So actually in that article they said that, well, we don't deal with tigers and leopards anymore. But it's different. It's stress created by social things, pandemics, financial things. It's a different kind of stress, but it's really still stress. So how we deal with it in different ways is that you get sick. You get mentally sick because people think that everything is solved here. But it's actually solved through movement. So that's why I say movement is essential to life. If you move and you develop the understanding of that, then your body can deal with stresses much, much better. It's called coping. When people can't deal with a lot of things, the body starts to break down too. And what happens? You get sick. So it's, that's why when you move, it's a lot more important than we think. So when you're like this, and you're like this, and you're like this, all of these things are positions. How does it happen? Folding, sinking, rising, turning. They're all simple until you try to pull it together. So that's why you can't. So when you did this already, that was symmetric. So relax here, sink here, okay, and let your body turn. Yeah, no, what's it? See, to be asymmetric, everything has to change. So if I'm here and I go like this, you see there's a change? You see there's a change? So the change is more than just here. It's here, here, and here. So that's what you have to teach your body first. So when you go through the movement, you're here, and you go like this, or go like this. What is this? It's interim position to this. So you have this when we're going like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? 1, 1. So you're essentially loading this up to do that. Loading this up, sustaining this to do that. So what's the two important points there? Cover this. This position is no good. It has to come to here. Yeah. Okay, here. It's here. So it's this and here. Right? So when you're here, you have to come here. And then at the same time, when you're here, you start to come forward here. And then you come. So when you're here, when you come forward, is loading to push. See? Like a chicken wing. You ever see a cat when they move? There's no tension in their body. They go like this. They're just setting up and then so that's what happens. So humans have this excessive tension because they're like resistant to everything. So the body just tenses. So when you move, you can't have tension because the body has to start from somewhere. So you have to let it go. So when you do Zhenjiang, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 1, this is here, 2. This has to be like this in order if it goes up. 1, 2, 3. This and this is everything has to be set up. Everything is determined by where the elbow is to move. So the fact that the elbow does this has to relax. So why doesn't the elbow relax? Because we have to sync the elbow, relax the shoulder. So that's kind of the theory. So when you try to replicate a movement, it's more important to understand the mechanics while you're going through it, to realize that I have to relax, I have to sync my elbow, and I have to know which part of the body to move. And that kind of leads you into a correctness of movement. But doing it and then having some principle and then discovery is what has to happen. Yeah. So when you go like this is square, this becomes center, this becomes center. So you don't have to go to the sides. The fact that you're this and this, because the turning, right? It's turning here. It's turning here. It's not 100, all of it is not here. Some of it is here. Right? So when this turns, this has to compensate, because if this is stiff, then it's like this. If this is moving without this, then it's like this. When you combine it, it looks like this. But the center line doesn't move, right? So it stays on track. So that's what your body has to do first. So when you're here, this, 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 this. Now when you're here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, the term body intelligence is that your body has to know this first. It has to know this, and it has to know that there's a transition, because this is this. This is this. On the other side, this is this. When you move over, then your body has to shift like this or like this. Divert, block, and punch. Figure 8, it's this. It's this. Right? The 1, 2. So when you're here, 1, 2. So it's 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. See? Slip. It's a pattern. So if the pattern is not there, you can't just replicate it. So you have to go through what? You have to go through this. You have to go through this. It sounds like, well, that's how I'm going to develop, but that's how you have to develop because the body doesn't know. If you're wiring the body like I'm talking about, and it's a motor skill, it has to happen here. Why? Because you didn't add your torso. This is going to be symmetric, but it's not symmetric when I'm here. It's only one, right? It's symmetric on this side. When I go like this, they're just following each other. If I go like this, right? So this becomes this, or this. So between this and this is one right and left. Between this is right and left. So those movements have to become ingrained in the movement because this and this is what makes it do this. So if this and this makes that happen, when you do this, all that's happening in here is really happening in here. So if you go like this, it's really what I did here. But it's hard to see because this is like this, right and left. But because you added a component that became forward and back, that's what created the movement that's looks so different. It's like cloud hands moving as a circle. This is cloud hands, no turning. This is cloud hands with turning. This is cloud hands adjusting and then moving. But where's this movement come from? We know this, but where's it show up as part of this action? Right? So if you're here, that's a circle, right? Cross. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just how it's spiraling down. What made this movement come down? Relax your elbow, sink your shoulder. So between this and this, are those patterns. So when we go like this and we turn, that is the same motion, but it became different because I added a component like that. Because this is driving the pattern. So if this is rigid and you can't actually get it to happen. So when you're here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 1, 2. So asymmetric movement means the two sides have independent intelligence. It's separate because the brain wants to do this together, but when you want to do this and then it's offset timing, then it changes how the brain is working. So you have to tap into the subconscious movement for that to happen. That's one of the reasons. So in the conscious level, you can't think it through because your conscious level says, do this one. Then when you go to this one, you forgot this one. So it has to enter a subconscious level of motion that the patterns are ingrained in your body. Does that make sense? So that's how some people learn by doing it, but the thing is, then the pattern doesn't matter because it's just a feeling. Yeah. So here's what has to happen in the feeling. If your hand is here, right, and you push in, my hand is this, right? If you push in, then there's that, right? I can't just go, and it has to sink and then turn. So the body has to accommodate the motion like that, and then it comes like that. So this is here. This is here. So do we have these movements? You have this. You have this. You have this. Right? So here, 1, 2, 1, right? So you can see. But you can't do that if you don't turn. Why? Because you don't have forward and back. You can't do this just like this because I can't slide. If I do this, pull and push and do this, then it becomes a physical movement. So if I go like this is not driven by my hand. This is not driven by my arm. It's driven by my body. So if I'm like this and you push, my body has to move. My hand is sustained as a position. And the position is soft. But it moves. And it's moving as a function of. So that's a passive action. But now if I put intent in it, then it's like that. But you only put intent on it at the end of the motion, because if you start to put intent in the middle of it, then you become too forceful. It's not adaptable. It doesn't accommodate the force and the motion. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All you're doing is open and close, open and close. So, what we're talking about while we're saying, well, this is what you need, this is what you need. It's essentially trying to understand, how do you teach this, right? How do you teach this motion, right? So you learn it in a rough form, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. If you know the movement, then you turn the body, then you maintain the movement, which you've learned here. You added this, and you added that. All you added was that. But you have to maintain this as a subconscious motion, because it's there. This is there. This is here. But when we turn, this is adapting, because when I do this, this has to fold. When I do this, this has to fold. I didn't do this. If you're doing this, you can't do that. You can't do this. Because the dominance of the motion, one is a commitment. Once you're committed to motion, that muscle is doing something that you can't modify. So if I'm throwing a punch, I can't do a high block. You only can do one thing at a time. If I'm punching down like this, I'm committed. I can't block high. So if I'm going like this and if I'm doing this, then I can't change because I'm here. But if I'm doing this, I can change. So you see, that's kind of the theory behind it. So you don't overcommit the movement by using strength. So when the idea of not using strength is not using strength. It's using strength, but the correct strength at the right time, which is pretty deep, actually. You have to ask the professor how deep that is. It's pretty deep. It took me 55 years to figure that out, so that's why. Yeah. But all joking aside, your body does go through that, evolves like that. And that's why it's fascinating. So then, when you're studying this stuff, it is fascinating, but it's sometimes challenging, sometimes discouraging. And you would say, a lot of people would say, why do I need to do this? It's not important. It's true, but it's actually a challenge to you as an individual, and also it's sort of striving for that quest of what it is. So people that do this are looking for a discovery. In the old days, we used to call it, trying to discover it. So everybody would wonder what that it is. You studied Aikido and grandmasters, and they're always trying to see what that person has. And they say, I'm trying to get it. You don't really know what it is, but it is this. is getting your body through the experience and the body intelligence you develop from the manipulation skills and doing this. And it's not because you do it with someone all the time. There's a way of doing it like that and then developing a certain strategy and technique. But doing it virtually in space is really developing it in this, intrinsic way that is even deeper than learning it when you're doing it with hands-on. It's that sort of that visualization side of learning that becomes really programmed in here. That's there, but yet you can't even imagine it being there. And that's what, something as simple as moving our joints can create that. And then the legs, how do you do that? And then have accuracy of movement. So when you look at this stuff and you watch all the people doing on YouTube and all this things, you say, well, they're not doing that. It's not that they don't want to do that, or they don't even know that that exists. Because, only seeing the old masters, you might, and even some of the old masters, you might not see it. But, looking at some of the old videos is intriguing to me to see these elderly people doing it, because I'm looking for what they're doing too. Or I imagine if you're listening to someone that of that era back in the day, you're trying to pick up something that a nuance that they had that, right? It's just beyond, So it's just, it's what's good for the geese is good for the gander. Or is that how it goes? Well, anyways, okay. So she went into outer space. So she said that was way over my head. She says, I just got my brown belt. Okay. So anyways, what was your question? Foku, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so when you elbow like this and you roll like this, you have to put all your weight to here and then balance here. Now this is where you have to turn on that one foot. Don't put your weight on that foot early. What you're doing is this, 1, 2, then here. Then you're putting your foot down and you didn't control this. So that's where you lose your balance. 1, 2, 3. And then when you spin, you have your, yeah. So you have to stay on the supporting leg as a pivot point first. And then when you pivot, you sink down on this leg, not this one. So for footwork, you always have to land not with a solid leg, you have to land with an empty leg. So if you're 1, 2, 3, this is empty. And then you sink here. And then you have a soft landing. If you go like this, then you're going to have a heavy landing and it's uncontrolled. So the important thing is the sinking. Just like you're sinking. It's all on the rooted leg. Yeah. Yeah, because when you land, the weight becomes here, then you're here. So you always have to land with an insubstantial leg. So that's, yeah. So even when you land here, once it's solid, then you can come here. And there's really not a commitment to this. So in your legs, you have to do the same thing as your arm. You're not really committed, prematurely. Early commitment can lead you to a disastrous final position. Sort of like signing the docs, be sure you shouldn't have. Early commitment, boy. So yeah, you're here. This is actually 1, 2, 3. This is going to turn. that's actually essentially the same. So I'm going to come here. This is back fisting. But then it comes to here. But if you were to cut, it would be, back fist, it would be because the motion is an arc. 45 up, 45 down. The consistent, because your arm is tracking like this. Your arm is 45 up, 45 down, tying to your body. Yeah, so you one over there. It's this line. 1, 1, 2, 3. This line. You have to be here to here. So because you're here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So one of the things that happens in your footwork that becomes more of a skill is how we pivot. And this pivoting stuff that we do, whether it's in a horse stance or Tai Chi, it becomes the finishing product of your stance, the mapo. It comes down to your feet. So a lot of times people get in their stance, but then there's no control of the feet. So you have to control your feet based on where it's going. The V stance in Tai Chi here, but we close it and we open it. We close it and we shift and then we turn. You see, so it really tied to your lower half. So Siungan Sin Yo Ma. It's the last thing, which is probably the most difficult because most of the time you go through 20, 30 years of your life not doing that. How are you going to just all of a sudden pick up your feet? So footwork is something very, very important. Upper body becomes more control. So Siungan Sin, the body. The body is the torso, and we need to learn to move that. Yeah. So you just don't let your body go too early, because by the time you're here, you're already throwing that over. So you have to keep your center better. So when we do forms, we have gross movements that are big, then we have the subtle movements that are harder to develop. So it comes, but first, it's information really, that you realize that you build that off of years and years of no, not there. See, closer to your center, but you landed with your foot in the wrong place. You have to, this foot turns here. Here, this turns to here to get to here. So if it turns and it's here, then you're going to be like this, right? So you have to actually turn this foot out and then face this way. So when we're here, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's this. But what doesn't let that turn is this. So yeah. Yeah. No, she got it. No, it's this. If your hip doesn't turn, then you're not going to be able to get over here, right? And then it's simple. But if you turn halfway and your foot's here, then you're going to be like this. That's sort of like this. How can you get there? You have to turn this. So the important thing is when you punch, kick, this has to turn. If you don't turn, then you're doing that. So when you turn here, then you turn back. You see. Yeah, spin. You're here, you spin. Then your foot is, yeah. So that's setting up your stance. Okay, so that's a big breakthrough. All right, we'll bow. Up. 2, 3. Salute. Yeah. Now, well, what she was doing is this, and she landed here, not quite even turning. She landed here, and then because this is here, she ended up here, and then she's off balance because she was stepping off the line.